John 5 verses 1 through 18. Sometime later, Jesus went to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there is in Jerusalem near the ship gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk." At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. The day on which this took place was a Sabbath. And so the Jewish leaders said to the man who had been healed, "It is the Sabbath. The law forbids you to carry your mat." But he replied, "The man who made me well said to me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" So they asked him, "Who is this fellow who told you to pick it up and walk?" The man who was healed had no idea who it was, for Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. Later, Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, "See, you are well again. Stop sinning or something worse may happen to you." The man went away and told the Jewish leaders that it was Jesus who made him well. So, because Jesus was doing these things on the Sabbath, the Jewish leaders began to persecute him. In his defense, Jesus said to them, "My Father is always at work to this very day, and I too am working." For this reason, they tried all the more to kill him. Not only was he breaking the Sabbath, but he was even calling God his own Father, making himself equal with God. John 5 verses 1 through 18. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" Do you want to get well? This man had been lame for 38 years. We are not told how he is lame, but we are told that he has been in this condition for a long time. Why is he at this pool of Bethesda in Jerusalem? Bethesda means house of mercy in Aramaic. This is the language which is spoken by Jesus and the people around him. Apparently, when an angel stirs the water, the first person to get in gets healed. Therefore, the blind, the lame, and the paralyzed stay at this pool. They want to be the first to go in when the water is stirred. We are not told why Jesus picked this man. He has many friends who are blind, lame, and paralyzed around him in the pool. Of all the people, why does Jesus specifically pick this man for healing? Some people will say that this man is very lucky. Do you want to get well? This man has been in this pool for a long time. He is probably used to the begging and the waiting. Does he really want to get well, or is he used to his condition? Perhaps Jesus asks this question when he wonders whether deep down inside, this man likes to get healed. Life is tough. Sometimes when we face a challenge for a very long time, we get into a rut. Like this man at the pool at Bethesda, we get used to the waiting for healing that we settle down to our dormant life beside the pool. We wonder if we ever will get healed until a stranger comes along and asks, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I'm trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." John 5 verse 7. I have no one. This man is not only trapped in his lame condition, he is lonely. He shares his loneliness with Jesus. This weekend is Thanksgiving weekend. This can be one of the loneliest weekends of the year. This is especially if you have no family or friends to share it with. There are many people in Canada who are feeling lonely today. Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk." At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. John 5 verse 8. We have seen how Jesus turns the water into wine and heals the royal son. Jesus' physical healing of this lame man is different. Do you want to get well? After this question, Jesus wastes no time. He tells the man to get up, pick up his mat, and walk. This man does not know that it was Jesus who helped him. The Jewish temple leaders have problems with this man carrying the mat on a Sabbath. He tells them that the person who healed him told him to get up and pick up his mat. John 5:14-15. Later, Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, "See, you're well again. Stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you." The man went away and told the Jewish leaders it was Jesus who made him well. Jesus makes a point to let this man know that it is he, Jesus, who has asked him to pick up his mat and walk. And this man tells the Jewish leaders that it is Jesus who heals him. Jesus comes alongside this man 2 times. First to heal him, and then to make sure it is Jesus who heals him. I would like to tell you the story of Muriel. She suffers from mental illness, yet she experiences healing, but needs to work towards maintaining it for life. Muriel's childhood crippled her emotionally. She began visits to the hospital's psychiatric ward when she was in her teens. By her late 40s, she had seen dozens of counselors, therapists, and psychiatrists. She was on a cocktail of anti-this and anti-that medications, so potent it could have subdued a blue whale. She had logged no fewer than 61 rounds of electric shock therapy, but nothing really happened. The problem was what others had done to her. Cruel things, malicious things, godless things. One day she walked into the office of a new therapist. Muriel was cynical. She had low expectations. The therapist heard her story and simply asked the question, "How would your life have been different if someone had come alongside you when you were 14 and showed you your strengths instead of telling you you were sick?" "In all those years," she said, "I'd never considered that. Then I saw it. I wasn't stuck in my life as I knew it. My life could be otherwise. I decided then to live it out otherwise. I changed my mind about who I was, which allowed me to change everything almost instantly." Would your life have been different if someone else had come alongside you and showed you your strengths instead of telling you you were sick? This is what Jesus does to this lame man. Jesus comes alongside this man and says to him, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk." The man does so. However, Jesus wants to make sure that he knows that it is he, Jesus, who has come alongside him and healed him. By coming alongside this man for the second time, Jesus is encouraging him to live his life of self-pity and loneliness and to work towards being totally healed, physically and emotionally. Jesus speaks into his life a second time to make sure he continues his road to recovery. This is what Jesus means when he says this: "See, you are well again. Stop sinning or something worse may happen to you." The Jewish temple leadership have problems with Jesus. Jesus tells this man to get up, pick up his mat and walk on the Sabbath. They tell this man that he's breaking the law by carrying the mat. They do not see a man who has been healed from his name condition. They see a Sabbath breaker. But he replied, "The man who made me well said to me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" The healed man's testimony does not get through to the Jewish leaders. The Jewish temple leaders see Jesus as the Sabbath breaker. By healing the man, he breaks the Sabbath law. They cannot see the third sign of Jesus here. They cannot see that Jesus heals at the pool of Bethesda, which means the house of mercy. So because Jesus was doing these things on the Sabbath, the Jewish leaders began to persecute him. In his defense, Jesus said to them, "My Father is always at his work to this very day, and I too am working." John 5:16-17. The Jewish temple leadership start persecuting Jesus. Jesus' defense does not help him. Jesus says that God is his Father. Jesus says that God, his Father, works on the Sabbath, and he too works on the Sabbath. Is Jesus mad? How can someone claim that God is his Father? Either Jesus is truthful about his identity, that he's the Son of God, or he is mad. There is no middle ground. He is either the Son of God or he is mad. For this reason, they tried all the more to kill him. Not only was he breaking the Sabbath, but he was even calling God his own Father, making himself equal with God. John 5:18. What does the term Son of God mean? We understand that the Son of God is the second person of the Trinity, and we celebrate Christmas because Jesus is born as a baby as the Son of God at Bethlehem. Do we truly know the significance of the term Son of God? Jesus claims that God is his own Father. This means, as according to the Jewish temple leadership who are beginning to persecute him, Jesus makes himself equal to God. So when we call Jesus the Son of God, we are really saying that Jesus is equal to God. Jesus is God. So when we are saying that Jesus is the Son of God, we are saying that Jesus is God who becomes a human being. Now, why does God become a human being? Why does God intentionally enter this earth? Here is the story. Jesus, the Son of God, intentionally enters this pool of Bethesda to do what? To heal this man. That is why God becomes a human being. God intentionally becomes a human being to heal us. God intentionally becomes a human being to save us. God intentionally becomes a human being to come alongside us. But he replied, "The man who made me well said to me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" So the God who makes us well says to us, "Pick up your mat and walk, and I will walk alongside you for the rest of your life." The healing that you have experienced in your life when you gave your life to me has begun, and I am going to continue to walk beside you for the rest of life. Well, today is Thanksgiving Sunday. We pause to thank God for all the different blessings in life he has given to us. This we do. But there is one gift that overshadows all the gifts that God has given to us in life. Ed Dobson was the pastor of a mega church known as Calvary Church in Grand Rapids, Michigan, from 1987 to 2005. However, in the year 2000, Ed was diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, which caused him to leave his position as a pastor in 2005. And since then, he's documented his journey with ALS through his writings and some videos. And if you Google Ed Dobson on suffering, you will find this video which he did with the Day of Discovery or our Daily Bread Productions. And he talks about sharing with people or helping people when they suffer. And this video was made in 2013. If you watch the video, Ed says that when you come alongside people, the best thing to do is not to share with them all things work for good to those who love God. Instead, he says that when people are suffering, the best thing is to come alongside them and ask them questions about how they are doing and what we can do to help them as they suffer through life. And then as we been through the discussion with them about how they're doing, we then pray with them. And after that, he says that the best verse to share with them then would be Hebrews 13:5-6. And I'm going to end with this verse, Hebrews 13:5-6. And Ed says through his struggles with Lou Gehrig's disease, this verse has meant a lot to him. God says, "Never will I leave you. Never will I forsake you." So we say with confidence, "The Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid." So Ed shared his life of suffering with us through his videos and his talks, and he went home to be with his Lord in December 2015. But his reminder to us of Hebrews 13:5-6 tells us of the greatest gift God gives to us this Thanksgiving weekend. The gift of Jesus who comes alongside us for the rest of life. Never will I leave you. Never will I forsake you. So we say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid.